Hey guys, welcome to Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God. We are in the exact same position we were in last time because we started another video to make this one and we got off track.
What was that video about?
We just made a video about your problems of memory.
And this video is about finances.
This video is about finances.
Good.
So you can go find the other video if you want, but this is about finances. We've had multiple people ask us finance questions between Mark not working and how we provide our family food and all of those things. So we just wanted to go over a quick, here's how, it might not be so quick, but here's how our family
We never do anything quick.
finances work. So I brought Mark in to make sure that I'm saying things right because Mark is our numbers guy.
I'm the numbers guy.
Mark is the numbers guy. And up until now, he's been our finance person in the house. So paying the bills and stuff like that. But we're handing that job over. Not handing it over, but Naomi's going to be working on it as part of her math curriculum for her next 4 months of school before she graduates.
And she has a memory, so like she remembers to pay the bills when I might forget.
Yeah.
Most of them are automatic, thankfully.
So okay, basically. Mark doesn't work. So you can go into that.
That was a short video.
You can go into why you don't work. I'm going to have a drink and a little bit of snack.
Okay, yes.
I'm a hungry pregnant mama.
Why do I not work? Because I'm lazy. No. I don't work because I have a neurological condition that does not allow me to drive or to work safely. Like I used to work in the local hospital. I worked in the operating room as a perioperative support partner, which is a fancy way to say I just clean up the stuff around the operating room and help out. Then I got into sterile processing. I got my CRCST and learned how surgical instrumentation, sterilization processes and stuff like that. And I also have my certified nurse's aide. Well, I don't have my certificate anymore because, I'm not on the registry anymore. I passed the class, did the work, and because I have not worked in it, you have to do continuing education and update your license every few years. So I'm no longer able to do any of those things because the hospital that I work for, which was a very good employer, they were very, very good to me. They gave me a lot of education opportunities and raises and opportunity to work into different positions. When it became apparent that I was not safe to be in that situation anymore, I was working in an operating room in the evening, mostly by myself. And sometimes I forget where I was, or I would just say it wasn't safe.
Was
Sterile processing, it wasn't safe. And then as a CNA,
patients rely on you.
Patients rely on you for everything, from bathing to eating to showering to, everything. And so I was unsafe to do that job anymore because of my memory lapses. It happened a couple times at work where I would get stuck. I couldn't talk. I couldn't move. So then instead of the caregiver, I become the patient. And that's just not safe in that environment. And we've talked to multiple employers, even friends of ours that employ people, and no one is able or willing to provide a job for me at this status. And I'm not able to. Like, I keep wanting to go back to work. Like, every couple of months or so, I'm like, I could really go back to work. I had a couple good days. I went for a walk. I didn't fall down. Everything seems to be good, like getting better. And I figured out that I don't assess my own situation very well. When I feel good, I think everything's been great for a long time because I have no memory.
He's not drunk. Mark is not a drinker. So but the idea of somebody, like, when they get to a certain point of drunkenness, they're like, oh, I'm fine, I can go drive a car.
Yeah.
When they're past the point of being fine, Mark doesn't realize when he's past that point.
Yeah.
He can't make that assessment well.
Right.
Sometimes
there was a situation last week where I was going to do something or allow something to be done that in certain circumstances would have been safe, but in those circumstances was not safe, and I didn't recognize it. Things didn't blow up or anything.
Which Mark is usually our safety, like, out of the two of us, Mark is more of the safety
cautious
person. Yeah, he's the cautious one.
I'm the overly cautious one. I'm the neurotic one with the 13 game plans and exit strategies and all of that.
And so if you don't understand what we're talking about, because Mark looks fine right here talking to you, the last video we just did talked about Mark and Josiah's condition and how it affects our daily life.
So finances, I don't work because of that, and I can't drive because of that, and I can't walk up and down the road by myself or across the street by myself because of all that.
But you should
so I'm very hard to be employed.
Yeah, but you should explain that you got hurt at work.
Yeah, I also had an injury at work. So I got hit in the back of the neck with a lift. Like one of the ceiling lifts, as the bar came back and whacked me in the head and knocked me out. That was just a couple weeks before I went out of work that time. So we really thought this was just a flare-up from that injury, because I've had 7 concussions and a few hits in the head that weren't concussion and some other problems. But evidently those are actually more backup, where the underlying genetic condition, it seems, we're waiting for our genetic testing to come back. But my brother and I both have the same circumstance. He has different symptoms in some respect, but we have the same condition.
So we think Mark has dystonia. We're waiting on the testing of that. Right. But it's something that you can have and doesn't flare up until you have a certain illness or a certain injury. Something brings it on. Right. But it can be like kind of festering in your system before that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why I don't work. But even when I was working, we preferred a lot of ministry. So at one point, I owned my own carpentry business with a brother in Christ. We worked together. And then we both went into full-time ministry, sold our tools and stopped doing that. And then we were on the road for about 3 years. And then since we've been back in Maine 12 years, 13 years, 12 years, maybe 13 years, somewhere there. And I worked, like I say, at the hospital. I worked in multiple positions in the operating room, sterile processing, CNA, but I haven't worked since 2017, August 2017, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the year Uriah was born.
Uriah was born.
Yep. And so when Mark was doing all this ministry stuff, we've always lived, for different reasons, we've always lived on very little income. When we first got married, Mark just didn't make much.
Right.
But then
even when we made good money doing carpentry, we figured out what our monthly bills were, and we would work about 20 or 30% more than that to have some savings, and then be able to do more ministry. So at one point we had to work, I think it was 38 hours a month to pay the bills. So we would work about 60 hours a month to have some to give, to have some for savings. But 60 hours a month is not a full-time job doing carpentry anymore. Right. So we would do that so we could have multiple days a week to go out on the street, do ministry, go to the nursing homes, just functions of the church, visiting with families like we do now, those kind of things. So we never had a ton of money, I guess, would be my thought.
So we didn't go from we have this wealth of money to suddenly we don't have much because Mark's not working. So a lot of the strategies we have are things that I learned right from getting married to Mark, because when we first got married, I came from a family that was well-to-do. We weren't rich, we weren't like millionaires or anything like that, but both my parents worked really good jobs, and we could go to the grocery store and just kind of put in the cart what we wanted. Right. Then Mark and I got married, and we ate a lot of ramen noodles and mac and cheese because we could afford them.
Yeah.
And I could cook those because I was a very bad cook at the time.
Yeah. So the things we've learned are strategies that we've been developing over the past 22 years. Right.
Mark was raised with not a ton of money, but he had, when he was a single dad before him and I married, he had enough money that he didn't have to learn basic cooking. Like, Mark knew how to cook. He had worked in kitchens and stuff like that, but he didn't know the money-saving cooking, like making your own broth and things.
Right. No,
to save money.
No, I could put food on the table.
So it was just, we had to learn how to do things differently once we got married. So anyway, Mark being in and out of work has been going on since we got married because of this same condition. But at the time we didn't know it was something that would last, because the first time he was out for a couple months and then he was able to go back to work and all of that stuff. So where we've been the last 6 years, so we came back to Maine about 9 years ago. We had been in Kentucky for a little bit. And about 9 years ago, we came back to Maine to live in the house that we are in currently. So this
with
room,
your mama.
Right. This room right here was my mom and dad's room. My parents had this room built the year Mark and I got married. So almost 22 years. Yeah. Almost 22 years ago. And my dad passed away 10 years ago. So this house was too big for my mom's needs. Yeah. So
it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot house.
Yeah. So while I was pregnant with Abigail, we had some bad experiences while we were down in Kentucky. The friends we had moved to be close to ended up moving to Texas in the middle of that. I broke my arm while we were in Kentucky. There was just a bunch of different stuff that happened. When she was 6 months pregnant. And I had delivered multiple babies here at this hospital. I trusted this hospital. And so I called Mom crying one day and just said, can we come home? I had like 3 months left till baby. Yep. I said, can we start the plans to come home and have our baby back in Maine? Because I don't know where God wants us. I don't know what to do. Mark was showing some symptoms of having some more problems at this point.
At the time, I was driving a delivery route, delivering prescription drugs to pharmacies across eastern Kentucky. And my delivery route was like 375 miles a day, and I was driving that, and I was by myself all day. Multiple times I got to stops and didn't know where I was, or where I had been, or how to get home, or...
It wasn't safe.
It wasn't good. We figured that out real quick.
So anyway, so Mark was showing some signs that things weren't going okay, and I just felt that we needed some more support from family. We needed to be close.
Yeah.
So I called my mom, found out my sister was here at the time, and through an hour-long conversation of my mom crying, handing the phone to my sister so she could relay the message, and then getting the phone back, my mom had been wanting us to come back to Maine the whole time, and had already had a plan that she was going to give us this house, and she was going to move into an apartment. Well, we didn't want that. We didn't want to kick her out of her house. We were just hoping for a place to stay for a couple months. So what ended up happening was, through all of it, we moved back into this house. My mom moved into her sister's summer home. Like, her sister has a house here in Maine that they only live in the summer. It's not just a summer home.
Yeah, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo. It's a year-round home.
So my mom moved into there, and Mark took some time before baby came to fix this house in a way that my mom could have her own private space within this single family house. We all shared the kitchen, and we had space on the other side of the house. So it worked out really well for multiple years. So since that time, where I was going with that is, since that time, we've been renting from my mother.
Right.
So we pay a certain amount a month that pays for utilities, the bills through the year, the taxes, those things we pay for. But this house was paid off when my dad died. Right. My mom used the money to pay off the house. So she doesn't have any mortgage or anything on this house that she has to pay. So we're paying all the expenses of the house. And then we work together depending on like repairs for the house. Right. Sometimes Mark will do the work, or will, however it works. It depends on the job of what's being done.
Like, I can't climb ladders and I can't get on roofs, so when Waylon comes in May, he's going to do the roof for us.
But we also have some older children that are very good helpers. So if Daddy knows the technique, like there's a laminate floor here that he was able to instruct them through. He didn't do much of the work. They did the work, but he knew the process of it. So anyway, so we've been renting from my mom. We would not be able to live in Mid-Coast, Maine without being able to rent from my mom, because the prices here are really expensive.
Thomaston is a great town to live in. The taxes are ridiculous.
And even the towns around us, there's a lot of people that are moving to this area. And so things are very expensive. There's not a lot of housing available.
Nope.
So we wouldn't be able to live here. But because my mom is very generous. Oh, and by the way, Mom lived with us in this house for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And then she built a small house in the backyard. So she has her own space, which is great. She can go down and take naps. She got
her own driveway, her own, like, it's a separate house 200 feet from our house, but it's very nice.
But she comes and has dinner with us every night, which I cook. So we'll get into more of that in a little bit. But
it's symbiotic.
Yeah, we work together on this, and my mom has now paid off her house back there too. So so that all works out well for everybody. So yes, we live here because we rent from my mom. We would have to probably live in either northern Maine or a different part of the country to be able to afford rent if it wasn't for my mother. My mom is great, but we do. Some people think we just are mooching off my mom. We do pay her every month. I don't think we've ever missed paying her in a month.
And we've never had to borrow money either.
It also is nice to know that your landlord's not looking to kick you out or raise your rent. We do, on about a yearly basis, I ask Mom if we can go over the bills.
Yes.
And so we have raised the rent as bills have gone up, because...
Sounds weird when we say we raised our rent. But, I mean, we legitimately want to pay what it costs. But that being said, this size house in this space, if you were to buy one and have a mortgage, it would be twice what we could afford. So, God has provided in that a family that loves us and has the means to help, that we can be helpful in being nearby and shoveling the driveway, and well, she pays to plow the driveway, but shoveling the walkways and stuff like that. We have lots of little workers. Josiah loves to weed Grandma's garden and everything else, so we get to help out on the property as we're able, and enjoy the property, and I think it makes the property more enjoyable for Grandma too. So it works well
on all of that.
I thought this is about finances.
Another thing people have asked us. Well, we just talked about our mortgage.
Oh, that's
or
right.
our
Yes,
rent.
our rent. Yeah.
We have state insurance for healthcare because of Mark's injury.
Right. I have Medicare. Yeah.
He has Medicare, and the rest of us qualify for state insurance because you have to have insurance in this day and age, and because of he is disabled. That's what comes to us. We are sparing with our health insurance, even though everything is paid for. We are a family that would rather do natural treatments when possible.
Well, and somebody's paying for that, even if we're not paying. Like when I was working in the hospital, we had a regular insurance plan through Blue Cross Blue Shield, and our deductibles were this, and our co-payments were this, and all of that.
That was really good.
That was good, yeah. Well, again, we had really good health insurance for the hospital. But even though we had good health insurance for the hospital, we didn't, I guess my thought is this: nothing is free. Everything costs somebody something. So if we go to see the chiropractor and it's $40, that's not free. It costs somebody $40, even if, I don't know, Maine Care or Medicare, whoever pays 17 or 28, I don't know what they pay. But it's a resource that should not be wasted. And so we don't want to just go willy-nilly and say, oh, I've got a snipple, I need to run to the emergency room because I didn't want to go to the doctor's, that kind of thing. So we want to be cautious and not overuse things.
Right. So we don't run to the doctor quickly, but with some of the health conditions we have, Josiah has ended up twice in the ICU, and we have been very thankful that insurance has covered that because that's very expensive. But again, we're not, Josiah would qualify for lots of therapies and
he could get probably 2 or 3 therapists to the home. If depending on how he was and how they rated it, we could probably have someone in the house taking care of him or helping him with certain things multiple hours a day. We don't feel a need for that in our situation.
If he were to be going to school, we homeschool, but if he were to be going to school, he would need a one-on-one.
Right.
Because he could have a seizure at any time, and he can't fully grasp what's going on around him all the time.
He can't keep himself safe.
So he would need to have a one-on-one with him full time. So we're
saving the school district about $100,000 a year, probably,
by having him home. But so with the healthcare, we do take care of our children's health needs.
We eat well, we exercise well,
so
we take care of things.
Samuel is getting fitted for braces that we'll be picking up next week because he needs them to be safer in his walking.
Right.
Naomi has an appointment. That's what I was on the phone for this morning. She has an appointment coming up for something that they did a basic test, and they were like, okay, we should do more testing. Yes, let's go do that more testing. But I don't take my child to every child visit to get weighed because I keep track of what they're weighing at home. And if they weren't gaining weight, I'd talk to the doctor, but they're gaining weight and they're growing and doing all the things they need to do. We don't have to go with that. Not Josiah. Malachi is 4. He has been dealing with some issues. He broke his ankle back in October, but had been dealing with some issues with muscle strength before that. So we finally got him in through talking to the doctors to a PT. And the PT was like, yes, there's exercises you can do at home. They don't feel we need to be in the office all the time. So just those types of things of saving money, even though the healthcare is already provided for.
I think it's like anything. Just because if your water is free, you don't have to just run the water all day long. Hey, I'm going to flush the toilet 17 times because water's free, right? We want to use resources wisely. And I'm not questioning how anybody else uses resources. I'm saying for our needs and our family with our level of abilities and all of that kind of stuff. The fact is, Sarah's mom is an operating room charge nurse. She's been an RN for 30 some odd years. Her experience in hospice and all levels of patient care mean that some minor things that you may need to talk to your doctor about, we don't really need to, because between the two of us and your mom, we have a pretty decent range of experience.
Right. Him being a CNA before, I did stuff with sports medicine back in high school training. So I wouldn't go do it to someone else's child, but I feel comfortable wrapping a sprain and watching it before we go see somebody for it. That type of thing. My child has a broken bone. We're going to the ER.
Totally. Yeah.
So anyway, that's how our healthcare's provided. We do pay a couple healthcare things out of pocket because we have chosen a different resource that's not available through our insurance. But those are small things that are important for us.
Right.
There are certain like supplements and stuff we buy that are not medicine through the doctor,
but I think that goes to it though. Like we've recognized that our child has need of a certain kind of care, and even though someone else isn't paying for it, like I look at going to that person the same way as I do anything else. I wouldn't run out and get an X-ray or run to the ER for certain things that I thought we could handle at home for us. What am I talking about?
Going to a certain person.
Oh, yes. Going there, even though we do have to pay it out of pocket. But it's okay to pay it out of pocket because it's a worthwhile service that whether someone else is paying for it or I'm paying for it out of pocket, I think this needs to be done, so we should do it.
Yeah.
So I think we have that balance of using the resources wisely, but not like, oh, we got to save money. So when our kid breaks their arm, we're just going to go get a stick and some glue and wrap an ace bandage around it. It's like, no, we're going to go to the hospital and get imaging done. We're going to get
So like in
done.
the case of the broken thing. No, I was going to say Malachi's.
His,
So Malachi, back in October, we were with friends down in Tennessee. Accident happened and he broke his ankle, the bottom of his tibia actually.
Right.
And we didn't take him that day because we were trying to assess whether it was kind of a sprain or whatever. But the next morning he still wasn't putting weight on it. We went to the hospital, we got checked out, we got the brace, we saw the specialist, did everything else we needed to do. So we do go through those things.
And he's doing great now.
And he's doing great now. Yeah. Okay, next question people have had with us is about food.
Food.
So we qualify for food stamps. We probably qualify for about $2,000 a month.
We probably qualify for a lot of things that we don't
but we
pursue.
don't take them because we feel as a family we are not at a point of needing that. We're not saying it's wrong for somebody to take it, but we just want to be open on our videos because people ask us how do we do what we do, and we just want to be real with you. So we do not get food stamps. If we felt we were in a space where we needed food, we both agree that we would go to a food pantry first because that food has already been purchased by somebody and is sitting on a shelf where it will expire if people don't use it. So if we needed to do something, that would be the first place we'd go. In the past, we have used food stamps, but that's probably been 12 years.
12 years for like a couple of months.
And
but we needed it for a couple of months.
We did need it for those
use
couple of months. We also used WIC at some point, which we still would qualify for too because I'm pregnant and we have 2 children under the age in our house. But we don't feel we need that resource right now. We do get some help with groceries from my mother because I mentioned before that my mom eats with us most nights. We do not depend on her food to feed our family. So this past month, my mom has not been around much. She's been helping take care of a very close family friend who lost their battle to cancer. So she was gone for 3 weeks where she wasn't here at all. And so she didn't provide for our food bill at all during that time. But how our finances work, I typically buy at Walmart, and we have another store in the area called Shaw's, which is an Albertsons affiliate, and they have really good deals. So about mostly weekly, there are things that are worth going to Shaw's and getting. But my mom works between like on the other side of Shaw's.
Home and here,
Right. So my mom will stop one day during the week and pick up all the sale items for our household and her household.
Which might be $5, might be $50. Like, I don't know.
So like this week they have hamburger on sale at a good price. So we're getting a bunch of hamburger. But some weeks she's stopping and just grabbing some avocados. You know, like it goes back and forth. And sometimes she purchases it and doesn't ask me for money back in that way. But when she eats dinner with us, I'm not like, hey mom, you know, you owe me $3 for the soup and bread you ate tonight. So it goes back and forth. I never know which night she's going to join us. So like this weekend, she was going to spend all weekend with us and she was on call.
And they did surgery for like 12 hours out of Saturday.
So we were expecting to feed her Saturday, lunch and supper, and we ended up only feeding her supper, which was after we had all finished supper. She got the leftovers. Yesterday like on Sundays, we sometimes eat lunch together, but she was again at work, and so she didn't have lunch with us. So that's 2 meals that she could have eaten with us or she didn't eat with us, that we don't account for her portion of it.
No.
But when she goes to Shaw's, she just picks up the bill. The couple times that I go to Shaw's, like she's had a really busy week or when she was out of town, I just pick up the bill. And sometimes that's buying stuff that's exclusively for her because she works every day. So she sometimes picks up foods that are really easy to take to work.
She also drinks skim milk, which I think is disgusting.
The kids call it skinny milk.
Skinny milk.
So
It's blue. It's not even milk. I'm kidding. It's fine.
you're not worried about your food
I don't
choices.
care for it personally.
But like my mom will buy food for like the local food pantry. So if I know there's something that's a really good sale that she was going to buy, if she was there, I'll pick it up and I give it to her and she gives it to the food pantry. So it's not we don't count on her money.
No.
But we also don't despise her money.
No. Well, I think we work, again, symbiotically. We work together.
Yes.
And I think, I don't know, there's a plus minus. There's no ledger. We don't really keep track of it.
Right. So like we made something the other day that is she really likes. And so we packaged up some for her before we took it to the place we were going. So it's just, that's how we work. So yes, my mom does provide for our food bill sometimes, but if she were gone for the month, it wouldn't affect our food bill. We would still eat on the $1,000 that we spend a month on food.
Which just 4 or 5 years ago, that was $500.
Yeah.
But welcome to inflation.
Prices have gone up. If you saw our grocery budget, like our groceries on Sam's Club haul a couple weeks ago, we spent $850. That money really is money for future months, but we had enough that we could spend it then. We haven't seen a huge savings from that thing yet, but we were using it to make meals to put in the freezer for when baby comes. So it's...
We have like 25 meals set aside for when baby comes. So that'll make life easier for everybody.
So we've been doing like... That money's been saved. We just can't see it yet because it's in the freezer.
I think that's part of it too, though, is we don't do impulse buying, pretty much ever. We plan for things, we plot for things. She says, "Do we have enough money to do a big shopping trip before baby? Oh yeah, here's a limit to spend or something like that." Or I was thinking about spending $100 on this thing. Is that something we should do, or should we just wait, or do we not need this? Or
so how we work on finances is we don't have like. I know some families have like a limit of if you're going to spend more than this, you talk to each other or whatever. We don't really have that. We just kind of talk to each other about everything.
About everything. Yeah.
So like the other day I was going to spend, I think it ended up being like $30 on Amazon for 2 different items that we had talked about these items in the past, but I hadn't bought them yet and everything. And I was like, should we do these? And we bought them, but he wouldn't have been mad at me had I just bought them without talking to him, if that makes sense. We just talk. I want him to know where our money's going and he wants me to know where the money's going, so it works out. So some other bills we pay. We were paying the internet bill, but my mom recently took that over.
Well, we were gone for like 7 months last year, and she wanted to maintain the internet because she's still living here. And
they weren't letting her.
They weren't letting her pay the bill because her name wasn't on it. It's like, oh, who refuses money from someone's like, oh, just put it on this bill. I think they'd be happy to have money on a bill. So anyhow, it ended up we had, in order to get a new modem, which we needed at the time, we were moving out some equipment and just moving stuff around. It ended up going in her name again. So
most of the house bills we pay through the money we hand her, but we hand her the money and she puts it into the different checks. So like I don't know what the water bill is every 3 months. She'll let me know if it goes up, but I don't. I couldn't tell you what it is.
Well, I think that's the other part too, is like electricity. We don't say, oh, we can't use the dryer because we can't afford it. Like we do use the dryer, but I run around shutting lights off, and you don't have to use the dryer on nicer days when you could hang stuff up. And we try to be. She doesn't want us to skimp on what we use just to save money, like to make a hardship, I guess.
Right.
Like don't make a hardship for yourself because of saving money, but.
We're also not just going to run the water all the time.
We want to be wise
with
it. I think a lot of this has come down to stewardship. Like, whether it's your resources or somebody's giving you resources, we should be good stewards of everything that we have opportunity to steward.
And then how we run the rest of our purchases, which include food, gas, all of those things. So we hand my mom a check once a month. And then most of the other money is put on a credit card.
Yep.
So people have problems with credit cards and all of that stuff. But here's how we use our credit card. We used to have a debit card, and our debit card got stolen twice.
Multiple times. When that happens, you have to go into the bank and sign an affidavit. Like you have to sit down with somebody and sign a piece of paper saying you're disputing the specific charge, and then another charge comes up, and then you have to go back to the bank and sign another piece of paper. With a credit card company, I just say, I didn't order that, and they just take it off and it's done. But it's not taken out of your account.
Right. And the final one that happened, we had just moved to Kentucky. So we hadn't changed banks yet.
Right.
Our debit card got stolen here in Maine, so people were putting charges on it. And the bank that we were using is a local bank, so we couldn't go into the bank to do anything.
Yeah, there was no branch of
My
that
mom,
bank in Kentucky.
And so my mom and dad, years ago, we signed over a power of attorney to them
When we
because
sold our house,
we were
yeah.
trying to sell our house, but we were moving out of state. So we signed over the paperwork so that they could sign the papers for us. So they still had that.
But we've
So
never revoked that.
my mom luckily was able to go into the bank and do the debit card thing for
Whatever
us.
it was, the affidavit they had to sign, yeah.
But we decided that that wasn't the best way to run our money. So we decided to get a credit card. Our credit card is through Amazon.
Yep. It's a
And
Chase Amazon
I'm not
card,
going to
yeah.
give you my number or anything. So, but we put all of our expenses on that. It gives us points back towards our Amazon, so we can use it when we're ordering off Amazon, which is where we order.
A lot of stuff.
We do a lot of price comparison, but we order a lot of stuff on Amazon. And so we use it and then pay it off every month.
Right.
And we usually pay off. So Naomi is almost graduated. She will graduate this spring. So we're trying to finish those last things that we haven't talked to her about. So we were doing credit card stuff the other day. So let's say the credit card ends on the 25th and it's due on the 5th. We usually just pay to the 5th, the day that we're actually paying the bill.
We'll just pay whatever so let's say the statement balance is $1,000. Usually you have to pay $1,000 by the 5th. But I look on the 4th and it's actually $1,200 because we bought gas and picked up some groceries. So I will then pay that $1,200 off. But we have paid that off.
Almost every time.
There was one time we didn't. And it was like $38 we didn't have. But other than that, we have been debt free since April of 2009.
But we use our credit card.
Use a credit card.
We use our credit card as this is money that we already have, and we will pay it to them at the end of the month instead of, it would have to be an extreme expense to put something on that we weren't going to be able to pay off at the end of the month, like a car repair or something that was big, not planned for.
Right.
But we do also have some savings that we can use for that.
So far, that's never happened. Yeah.
But just the idea of we don't want to just pay the minimum on it. We want to use it as if we're going to be able to pay this off at the end of the month. So that's how we use our credit card. So we don't actually pay them late fees, so they probably get mad at us. So how else do we run our finances?
I don't know. I talked about like food and rent and insurance. Our cell phone bills are mine's $25 a month. Mine's $30 a month, and yours is $25 a month. So we spend $55 a month on 2 cell phones
that have hotspots.
Yes, so we use Visible by Verizon, and it's an unlimited talk, text, and data.
It's been really good.
It has been very good. We've had it about a year and a half, so that's worked well for us. We bought used or reconditioned iPhone SEs. I think I paid $120 each for our iPhones. And they're the 2020 model, so they're 4 years old, but they work great and have no problems. And so that's our cell phone is something else we pay for. Because I think a lot of people have cell phones, but I think some people don't know what they're paying, or there's hidden fees, or, there's different companies to go for, quality of service, stuff like that. For us, we don't really need it that much. We do need access to the phone and stuff like that. But
we also pay for Amazon Prime, which we've found to be beneficial for our family because we order so much from Amazon Prime. But we don't have any other we have Google Play, which is like $1 a month or something.
Right. We have I think it's 2 terabytes of storage on Google, like for backups, that sort of thing.
Right. But I think that's the only thing we pay like on a
That's the only
monthly basis.
subscription
We don't have
fee
like
we have.
subscriptions.
And the Amazon is $139 a year, and it
Oh.
just paid up last month.
Hold on.
So that's
we
a
do have
yearly thing.
Walmart Plus.
Oh, yes,
Walmart
we
Plus.
do. We paid that. We probably won't do it again though.
So yeah, we might not do it next year, but we found a good deal on it at the time that we got it. And between Naomi not having a license, so me being the only driver, Josiah's medical conditions of seizures, where sometimes it's impossible. So I didn't mention this on the other video, but Mark and Josiah have a really hard time in big box stores like Walmart. So I can't always take people into the store. We were already doing pickup on a regular basis. And knowing baby's coming, we decided to get the 1 year Walmart Plus.
I think it was $49 for the year. Yeah.
And so we can get deliveries of groceries right to the house. Mark's condition is different. Sorry. My condition and Samuel's condition make it really hard for us to be out on ice. So
Right.
with the winter weather,
Or even walking.
it was
far.
much easier for them to be able to bring us our groceries. And only once has the person unloaded the groceries because we didn't realize they were here.
If we know they're coming, like they send you a text or an email or something, we run out and
The kids unload the car
and they're
for
like,
them.
"Oh, somebody's helping," and so we get a chance to meet people and
So it's
help
just
them.
yeah, it's just one of those that we pay for that, but we don't pay for like to watch things. We watch things on YouTube or what's available through Amazon Prime, but we don't have like Netflix or Hulu or any of those.
Oh, we have Paramount Plus. The
through
Walmart,
Walmart.
the Walmart Plus thing has Paramount Plus. We haven't actually watched anything on it, but it's there. So if you like that kind of thing, it might be valuable for you.
We don't do like any music subscriptions. We don't have any subscriptions of like we have in the past of like Kiwi Crate and stuff that were given to our children, but we don't
We never
get
pay for
those
those,
types of
so.
things that are monthly subscriptions. That's a way we save because we know a lot of people who get the subscription with good intent to use it, and then they forget to cancel it. And 3 years later, they're like, "Why do I still have this $6 charge coming out every month?" And it really adds up if you have multiple subscriptions. So, yeah, those are things we don't do.
There's a lot of things we don't do. I actually don't know all the things we don't do because we were talking to someone at one point that was saying like, "Oh yeah, I had this, $15 a month for YouTube and this $8 a month for Hulu and this $12 a month for Spotify or whatever it was." Like there was a whole list of these things. And I was like, "So what is that up to?" It was like $75 a month. So that's $900 a year.
Yeah, we don't do that.
We don't do that stuff.
The things that we have that are the subscription, like the Amazon and the Walmart, are things that we thought long and hard before we got them to say, is this worth it? And we reassess those reasons.
Walmart's not far, but if you start that 15-passenger van and drive it over to Walmart and back, you spend about $3 in gas. So that means $3 a delivery is actually just breaking even, and it has nothing to do with the convenience of it. But we also have the convenience of it, and we don't have to go on the ice and that kind of thing. So
yeah, so that's how we do our family. Mark is out of work. He's on disability.
Yep.
That's how God is providing for our family right now. And if there was something different we could do, we've discussed in the past, like family businesses and that type of thing. But because of our medical needs of our family, I, as a mom, like if you're a stay-at-home mom, especially if you're a homeschool mom, you already know your day is full, even without any medical necessity needed. Josiah is needy in a therapy way every day. He's more than the average child. Not that that's bad. It's not like, I'm not saying
just life, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a wrong thing. I'm just saying, I think they say a mom, like a stay-at-home mom, is like 2.5 jobs. Like.
So do you have like 20 jobs because we have 8 jobs?
No, I was gonna say I think like just normal life, no matter how many kids, is like 2.5 jobs.
Yep.
But when you have a child that has special needs,
Right.
it adds to that job. Then you have a husband who has special needs. So sometimes Mark is very helpful at home, and sometimes Mark is not very helpful at home.
Sometimes I need help, and
So-
sometimes I can help.
On a daily basis, I can't plan that Mark is going to do math with the kids because he might not be able to function that day. But on a good day, he's able to function and do math. So I just know a lot of people think you're home, we somehow have all this money that we don't have, and that I'm sitting and eating bonbons while you're helping do all the chores around the house.
If anybody's eating bonbons around here, it's probably me.
I can't even
Can
eat
we have some
bonbons right
bonbons?
now. They're not on the grocery list.
No.
So anyway, that was, if you have more questions about that, we are fairly an open book, but we also...
There's some questions we will not answer, but most of them we will.
Yeah. So feel free to ask.
Yeah.
The worst you can get is us to say no. We're not going to be mad at you for asking.
Because the purpose of our channel is not to make ourselves some sort of spectacle. It's to help people who are in similar circumstances. Help people understand what it's like to have circumstances like we do. To have hope in the midst of those circumstances.
But we have friends, like, I don't think that people could live on our budget with the amount of children we have and all of that without the way that we're able to rent from my mom.
Yeah.
That would not happen.
Yep.
But
we'd probably need another $1,000 a month. There's a lot of us. And well, we noticed that before, years ago, we were trying to rent a house, and at the time we had 5 children. It was a 3-bedroom house, and they would not rent it to us. A 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, they would not rent it to us because we had 5 children. They said, "I'm sorry, it won't work for your family." I'm like, "Oh, we lived in a lot smaller with 1 bed, like 2 bedrooms and a bath, or we lived in a camper."
We only had 4
for a
children
period
at
of time.
that point.
4 children.
And they wouldn't let us get a 3-bedroom house.
Right.
They said it had to be 2 people per bedroom. And we're like, well, that would be 2 people per bedroom. And they're like, nope, the house would be too small. They wouldn't even show us the house.
Nope, when in show us.
That was down in Florida.
So anyway, us finding a place that someone would rent to us or that we could purchase, which I don't think anybody would sell us anything either. Anyway.
So anyway, we want to let people know, because we know that there's all kinds of variations of living on a low income out there, and some involve getting more help through state or other organizations. Some involve having secondary jobs and things like that. Each person is different, but we kind of wanted to let you know how it works in our house. And it just means that we have to be careful when we think through things that we want to buy. But we don't feel needy.
We're not deprived in any way. God has provided.
We've actually talked about this before. Like, if some extra money comes in from like an anniversary, or let's just say my mom is she works as an RN. She's been working that for 30 years.
Yeah.
She makes good money. And so she'll sometimes, for like Christmas, she'll be like, "I want to get a family gift for you guys.
Like,
what would be helpful at home?" And we're like, I don't know. Like, I
don't
don't
really
feel like I'm a
need
person
anything.
with a list of, this would just make life so much easier. I feel like we're very content in where God has placed us.
But a couple of years ago, if we're just telling all our stories.
Go ahead.
A couple of years ago, while we were in Tennessee for a long period of time, months, we're staying on a friend's land and helping out with expenses, but they weren't charging us rent, that sort of thing. So, but we were down near a big city, and Grandma said, "I'd like to buy you a zoo pass." So instead of like some thing, she bought the privilege to be able to go to the zoo.
And this year she got us the Owl's Head Transportation Museum pass.
So like, it's furthering our kids' education. It's giving us more opportunities to be out in the community and enjoy and learn new things and pursue new things. That kind of gift, instead of here's X amount of dollars to go buy a TV or something like that, or whatever you might need or want. Generally those work really nicely for us.
Yeah. But we don't, I was just trying to say, like, we don't feel needy. Like, we don't feel like being on this low income. Like the stuff that I bought the other day, I said Amazon, $30. One of them was a certain kind of soap dispenser that would make life easier for Josiah.
Like a wall mounted. So normally what we've had is the little pump bottles that you got, which is great if you've got 2 hands that you can hold it and squish. He doesn't. You got 1 hand that works. So I just mounted it today, because when it came in today, he can just push his hand against it like you would in a bathroom, a public bathroom or a school or something like that. And he loves it. And he's so excited about it because he can actually get the soap by himself and not make a mess. And
the other thing is a therapy toy, which isn't unnecessary at all, but it would benefit a couple of the kids with certain therapies that they're doing. So they're not things that were like, oh, I have to buy these or life's not okay.
Right.
But it also wasn't we don't have so little money that I have to, like, okay, where are we going to scrimp on something else so that I can buy these things? So God's provided for us. God is good. In all of it, God is good, and God provides you what you need. Not necessarily what you want, but when you're focused on Him and focused on the task at hand of raising your children and family to glorify God, a lot of those other things are things that you realize aren't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I guess that's it.
guess that's it.
So hopefully that was an encouragement to people. We went on for 45 minutes for our short
This was
video.
another short video.
So I've got to go find out what the kids are doing. The baby was asleep and they got to watch some shows because here in Maine, it is super, super windy today.
It's only blowing about 30 out there with gusts to 50, but yesterday it was gusts to 60.
But it's only like 36 degrees, so it's a little chilly.
A little chilly.
So we're staying inside today. Tomorrow, hopefully it's going to be 50, so we're going to get outside.
Hopefully. We'll see.
So anyway, so we'll see you guys next time on Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God. Leave any comments you have or questions about finances. We might answer, we might not. And if you like these videos where Mark and I are just chit-chatty, let us know. We don't get a lot of time to sit around and do this, but we'll make time if you guys like it. The kids don't mind us doing it because they get to go do something fun in the other room. So they're like, go make videos. So anyway, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.